Commander Zethkar stood before the massive viewing screen aboard his flagship, the Dominator, watching Earth's transmissions with growing contempt. His crystalline eyes, cold as the void of space, analyzed every piece of human communication his fleet had intercepted over the past 3 months. News reports showed wars raging across continents, poverty consuming entire nations, and political divisions tearing societies apart. His advanced AI systems had processed millions of hours of human broadcasts, creating a comprehensive profile of this primitive species. Pathetic, Zethkar muttered, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 17 worlds. Look at them, Sub-Commander Vexahol. They fight each other with crude weapons while their planet dies around them. Our AI rates them as the weakest species we've ever encountered. The holographic display showed Earth's military capabilities. Weapons that could barely scratch a Valkorian transport ship. Aircraft that moved slower than their slowest drones. And space technology that hadn't even reached their own moon's permanent colonization. The data was overwhelming. Humans were nothing more than aggressive insects, squabbling over resources. Sir Vexahol's mechanical voice buzzed through the bridge's communication system. The AI recommends a Category 9 subjugation protocol. Minimal force required. Estimated conquest time, 72 hours. A guest laugh echoed across the bridge where dozens of alien officers worked at their stations. The Valkorian Empire had perfected the art of conquest over 3 centuries. They had crushed the mighty Zenthari with their plasma cannons, enslaved the technologically advanced Koroth with their mind control devices, and wiped out the warrior race of Hektara without losing a single ship. Humans would be their easiest victory yet. Broadcast the ultimatum, Zethkar commanded. Let's see how quickly these primitives surrender. On Earth, Captain Dongwu sat in the command center of the Earth Defense Force, his weathered hands gripping a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. The transmission from the alien fleet had arrived at exactly 0800 hours, and its contents had sent shockwaves through every government on the planet. Captain Lieutenant Park called out from her station. We're receiving the alien message again. They're demanding our complete surrender within 72 hours. The main screen flickered to life, showing the imposing figure of Commander Zethkar. His alien features were sharp and angular, with skin that seemed to shift between silver and blue. When he spoke, his voice carried the confidence of someone who had never tasted defeat. Humans of Earth, the alien commander began. I am Commander Zethkar of the Valkorian Empire. Your species has been evaluated and found ... lacking. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. Fuse, and we will demonstrate why resistance is futile. Dongwu had spent 30 years in the military, fighting in conflicts across 3 continents. He had seen humanity at its worst and its best. He knew the alien was making a mistake, but he also knew that mistake might cost millions of lives. His communications officer interrupted. Governments worldwide are requesting immediate response protocols. The UN Security Council is convening an emergency session. Before Dongwu could respond, the alien transmission continued. To demonstrate our superiority, observe. The screen switched to a view of Earth's moon. Suddenly, a brilliant beam of energy erupted from the alien flagship, striking the lunar surface with devastating force. The explosion was visible even from Earth, as a chunk of the moon's surface simply vanished in a flash of superheated plasma. The shockwave rippled across the lunar landscape, creating new craters and sending debris spinning into space. The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the display in shock. The aliens had just demonstrated power beyond anything humanity possessed. They had treated Earth's moon like a target practice dummy, casually destroying what humans had spent decades dreaming of colonizing. My God, someone whispered. But Dongwu's reaction was different. His jaw tightened, and his eyes narrowed. He had seen bullies before, both human and apparently alien. The way Zethkar carried himself, the casual destruction of the moon, the arrogant dismissal of humanity, it all reminded him of tyrants he had fought against throughout his career. Open a channel, Dongwu commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Sir, his communications officer asked, uncertain. Open the channel now. The screen flickered back to Commander Zethkar, who was clearly expecting to receive Earth's surrender. Instead, he found himself face to face with a human military officer who showed no fear, no panic, no desperation. Dongwu stood straight, his uniform pressed, his expression calm but determined. Commander Zethkar, Dongwu began, his voice carrying across space to the alien fleet. I'm Captain Dongwu of the Earth Defense Force. I've received your message. Zethkar leaned forward, anticipating the surrender that would add another easy conquest to his record. His officers on the bridge prepared to begin the subjugation protocols. I have one response to your ultimatum, Dongwu continued, his eyes never leaving the alien commander's face. You just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The alien bridge fell silent. Zethkar's expression shifted from confident arrogance to confusion, then to anger. You dare threaten the Valkorian Empire? Zethkar snarled. You primitive insects will learn. Begin orbital bombardment, Dongwu interrupted, speaking to his own crew. All hidden defense platforms are authorized to engage. Code authorization, endgame protocol. Zethkar's laughter was cut short as proximity alarms began screaming across his flagship. His tactical officer's voice cracked with disbelief. Sir. Massive energy signatures detected across Earth's orbital space. Multiple weapons platforms coming online. They were cloaked, sir. We never detected them. The first salvo of Earth's hidden defense systems struck the Valkorian fleet with devastating precision. The lead destroyer Annihilator exploded. In a brilliant flash of light that could be seen from Earth's surface, advanced plasma cannons reverse-engineered from decades of recovered alien technology tore through Valkorian shields as if they were paper. Impossible, Zethkar whispered, watching his mighty fleet take casualties in the opening seconds of what was supposed to be a simple conquest. Our scans showed they had no such technology. But as more human weapons came online, as Earth's true defenses revealed themselves, Zethkar began to understand that everything his AI had calculated was wrong. The humans hadn't been showing weakness. They had been hiding their strength. And now, as his ships burned in the void above Earth, he realized he had awakened something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The war had begun, and the Valkorian Empire was already losing. The first 48 hours after the orbital bombardment began changed everything. In his underground laboratory beneath Seoul, Dr. Jamin worked with desperate intensity, his hands moving rapidly across holographic displays as he examined pieces of the destroyed Valkorian destroyer. Sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford not. When humanity's survival depended on understanding alien technology that was centuries ahead of their own. Professor, this is impossible, his assistant whispered, staring at the energy readings on their screens. Their power source is generating more energy than our entire city grid. Jamin's eyes were red from exhaustion, but his mind was sharper than ever. He had spent his entire career studying theoretical physics, dreaming of breakthrough discoveries. Now, with alien wreckage scattered across his lab tables, those dreams had become a desperate reality. Nothing is impossible, he muttered, carefully extracting a crystalline component from the alien debris. Look at this power cell. It's not just storing energy, it's converting matter directly into usable power. If we can reverse engineer this, above ground, the city of Seoul was burning. Valkorian attack ships swept through the streets, their plasma cannons turning buildings into rubble. The aliens had expected panic, chaos, and quick surrender. Instead, they found something they had never encountered in their centuries of conquest: organized, coordinated resistance. In the emergency command center buried deep beneath the city, Colonel Soyoung stood before a wall of monitors showing global military positions. Her uniform was stained with dust and sweat, but her voice remained steady as she coordinated with military commanders across 6 continents. Mumbai Command, redirect your air units to support the ground forces in Sector 7, she ordered into her headset. London, I need those missile platforms online in the next 10 minutes. New York, maintain your defensive positions until the orbital. Platforms can provide cover fire. Her tactical genius was becoming legendary. While alien commanders expected human forces to scatter and hide, Soyoung had done the opposite. She had united Earth's military forces into a single, coordinated defense network. Every soldier, every pilot, every commander was connected through her strategic planning. Colonel, her communications officer, called out, "We're receiving reports from all fronts. Aliens are using some kind of fear weapon. It's affecting civilian populations, but what?" So-young asked, studying the tactical displays. "Military units are reporting increased aggression levels. Instead of running away, our soldiers are fighting harder." So-young allowed herself a small smile. The Valkorians had made another miscalculation. It designed their fear weapons to break primitive minds, to send enemies running in terror. But humans were different. When cornered, when their families and homes were threatened, they didn't run, they fought with everything they had, in the skies above Tokyo. Lieutenant Hyansu piloted his modified fighter jet toward the massive Valkorian battle group that was positioning itself for a devastating attack on the city below. His aircraft was barely holding together, damaged from previous encounters with alien ships, but his mission was clear. "Command, this is Shadow Leader," he spoke into his radio, his voice calm despite the impossible odds. "I have visual on the alien command ship. Beginning final approach." "Shadow Leader, negative." So-young's voice crackled through the radio. "Pull back immediately. We can find another way." But Hyansu had already made his decision. In the last 48 hours, he had watched his squadron mates die one by one, outgunned by superior alien technology. He had seen entire city blocks reduced to ash by their weapons. He had listened to the desperate cries of civilians trying to escape the bombardment. "Colonel," he said quietly, "tell my family I love them, and tell the aliens something for me." Fighter jet, loaded with experimental explosives that Jamin's team had developed from alien technology, screamed toward the center of the Valkorian battle group. The alien ships opened fire, their plasma beams lighting up the sky, but Hyansu's plane was too small, too fast, and too determined. "Tell them what?" So-young asked, her voice breaking. "Tell them we are not their prey." The explosion that followed lit up the entire sky above Tokyo. Hyansu's modified explosives, enhanced with alien technology, created a chain reaction that destroyed not just the command ship, but the entire battle group. 15 Valkorian vessels vanished in a brilliant flash of light, their debris raining down into the Pacific Ocean. Back in his laboratory, Min watched the explosion through his security monitors and felt something ignite in his chest. Aliens thought they were dealing with primitives, but they were wrong. Humans might not have been born with advanced technology, but they had something the Valkorians lacked: the ability to learn, adapt, and innovate under pressure. "Run the final test on the power cell," he ordered his team, and prepared the manufacturing protocols. "We're going to mass-produce these improvements." Within hours, Jamin's breakthrough was being transmitted to military facilities around the world. Human engineers, working with desperate efficiency, began integrating alien technology into their own weapons systems. Tanks that had been useless against Valkorian armor were suddenly capable of penetrating alien shields. Aircraft that had been too slow to engage alien fighters were now matching their speed and maneuverability. But the most significant change wasn't technologically, was psychological. Across the globe, humanity was discovering something about itself. The species that the Valkorians had dismissed as weak and divided was proving to be incredibly resilient and adaptable. Religious differences, political divisions, and national boundaries became irrelevant when faced with extinction. In Moscow, Russian soldiers fought alongside American Marines. In London, British engineers worked with Chinese scientists. In Cairo, Egyptian pilots coordinated with Israeli commanders. The unity that had eluded humanity for centuries was forged in the fires of alien invasion. Commander Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the casualty reports with growing disbelief. In just 48 hours, he had lost more ships than in his previous 3 campaigns combined. His tactical officers were reporting impossible human adaptations, unexpected resistance strategies, and technological improvements that their AI couldn't explain. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "human forces are now using modified versions of our own weapons. They've somehow reverse-engineered our technology and improved upon it." "Impossible," Zethkar snarled, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs. Sir, with respect, perhaps our initial assessment was incorrect. These humans are not behaving like any species we've encountered. They're not just fighting, they're evolving. Zethkar watched the tactical displays showing human forces coordinating across multiple continents, their resistance growing stronger with each passing hour. The quick conquest that was supposed to last 72 hours had become a grinding war of attrition, and for the first time in his career, he wasn't certain of victory. "Increase the bombardment," he ordered, his voice harder than before. "Deploy the fear weapons at maximum intensity. Break their will to fight." But even as he gave the orders, Zethkar knew something had changed. The humans weren't acting like prey anymore. They were acting like predators who had just realized they were being hunted, and they were fighting back with everything they had. 3 months had passed since the first Valkorian ships darkened Earth's skies, and the world had transformed into something unrecognizable. In the ruins of what used to be Busan University, Bioram crouched behind a pile of rubble, her fingers dancing across a modified alien scanner. The 20-year-old literature student who had once worried about exam grades was now one of humanity's most effective. "Resistance leaders? Target acquired?" she whispered into her communication device, watching the thermal signatures of a Valkorian patrol moving through the destroyed campus. 12 hostiles, standard formation. They're using the same predictable pattern they've used for the past 2 weeks. Her team of 15 fighters, former students, professors, and civilians, positioned themselves around the patrol route. Each carried weapons that would have been science fiction just months ago. Bioram's rifle was a hybrid creation, combining human engineering with alien power cells. It could punch through Valkorian armor that had once seemed impenetrable. "Remember," she said softly to her team, "they think in straight lines. We don't." The Valkorian patrol entered the kill zone exactly as Boram had predicted.
These aliens
Had conquered 17 worlds using the same tactics, the same formations, the same rigid military doctrine. But they had never fought humans before. The attack lasted exactly 37 seconds. When it was over, 12 Valkorian soldiers lay dead, their advanced weapons stripped and ready for reverse engineering. Bioram's team had suffered 0 casualties. "How many does that make this?" "Weak," asked Jinwoo, a former engineering student who now built explosive devices from alien components. 43 confirmed kills," Bioram replied, already planning their next move, "and we're just one cell." Intelligence reports say there are over 10,000 resistance groups operating worldwide. What the Valkorians couldn't understand was that they hadn't just awakened human military might, they had awakened human creativity. Every civilian who had survived the initial bombardment had become a potential threat. Teachers built communication networks, doctors developed new medical techniques using alien technology, and students like Bioram became tactical masterminds in the bombed-out remains of a Seoul auto repair shop. Taeho wiped grease from his hands and studied the alien shuttle he had been working on for 6 days. The 35-year-old mechanic had spent his entire life fixing cars. But now he was attempting something that military engineers had deemed impossible, capturing an intact Valkorian command ship. "You're crazy," said his assistant, Minho, watching Taeho weld alien components into the shuttle's control system. "Even if this works, you'll be flying straight into their main battle formation." Taeho smiled, the same expression he used to wear when customers brought him vehicles that other mechanics had given up on. "Minho, I've been fixing impossible problems my whole life. This is just another broken machine that needs the right touch." The shuttle had been shot down 2 weeks ago, its pilot killed in the crash. While military scientists had spent months trying to understand alien technology, Taeho had simply started taking things apart and putting them back together. He didn't understand the physics behind their power systems, but he understood how mechanical systems worked. "The beauty of being a mechanic," he explained, connecting a human-made targeting system to the alien navigation console, "is that you don't need to understand why something works. You just need to make it work." Its modifications were crude but effective. He had replaced the alien weapons with human-designed plasma cannons that used alien power cells. The cloaking system was jury-rigged with components from 6 different alien ships. The navigation computer was a hybrid of human software and alien hardware. "Command, this is Ghost Rider." Tejo spoke into his modified radio as he lifted off from the ruined city, beginning infiltration of enemy formation. Above Earth's atmosphere, the Valkyrian command ship Supremacy hung in space like a metallic mountain. Commander Zethkar stood on its bridge, reviewing casualty reports that made no sense according to every military doctrine he had ever studied. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost another patrol in the Sol sector. That's the 43rd. Unit destroyed by the same resistance cell this month." Zethkar's crystalline features darkened with frustration. "How is this possible?" "Our AI analyzed their tactics. It should be predictable." "Sir, that's the problem. You're not following any recognizable tactical doctrine. Every attack is different. Every strategy is unique. Our combat algorithms can't adapt because there's no pattern to adapt to." The truth was becoming painfully clear to Zethkar. The Valkorian Empire had conquered 17 worlds using superior technology and predictable tactics. They had never faced an enemy that refused to follow the rules of warfare. Humans didn't just adapt, they improvised, they innovated, and they broke every military convention that had worked for centuries. "Incoming shuttle," the scanning officer announced. "It's transmitting correct identification codes." "Let it duck," Zethkar ordered without looking up from his reports. "Why?" To hear from the ground commanders personally, the shuttle that docked with the Supremacy looked like any other Valkorian transport. But inside, Tejo was sweating as he powered down the engines. Its modifications had worked perfectly, fooling the alien sensors completely. Now came the hard part. "Remember," he whispered to himself, "you're just fixing another broken machine." The alien guards who met him at the docking bay never suspected that the Valkorian pilot walking past them was actually a human mechanic wearing stolen alien armor. Iho had studied captured alien communications for weeks, learning their language, their protocols, their procedures. "Report to Bridge Level 7, one guard instructed in the clicking, mechanical language of the Valkorians. "Acknowledged," Tejo replied, his voice modulated by the alien helmet to sound like their synthetic speech. As he walked through the corridors of the massive ship, Tejo planted small explosive devices at key structural points. These weren't military-grade weapons, they were improvised bombs made from alien power cells and human creativity. Each one was designed to trigger a cascade failure in the ship's systems. On the bridge, Commander Zethkar was growing more agitated by the minute. "Our losses are unacceptable," he growled to his officers. "These primitives should have been conquered months ago." "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission on an emergency frequency. It's coming from inside the ship." The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of a human male removing an alien helmet. Tejo's weathered features and confident smile filled the display. "Commander Zethkar," Tejo said in perfectly accented English. "This is Tejo, former mechanic and current pain in your ass. I wanted to thank you for the tour of your ship. It's very impressive technology." "It's impossible," Zethkar whispered, staring at the human who had somehow infiltrated his most secure vessel. "Oh, it's very possible," Tejo continued, holding up a small device. "See, the thing about being a mechanic is that you learn how to fix things, but you also learn how to break them when you need to." Alarms began screaming across the bridge. As Tejo's improvised explosives detonated in perfect sequence, the massive command ship shuddered, its systems failing one by one. Emergency lights flashed as the Supremacy began to list to one side. "You see, Commander," Tejo said as the transmission began to break up, "you made one critical mistake. You assumed we were still the same species you first encountered, but we're not. We're something new, something you created when you tried to destroy us." The screen went black as the Supremacy lost power. In the darkness of space, the once mighty vessel drifted helplessly, its crew struggling to maintain life support. Commander Zethkar stood in the emergency lighting, finally understanding the truth. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were evolving. Every attack, every defeat, every loss was teaching them something new. They weren't the same species that had been broadcasting their wars and divisions months ago. They had become something else entirely. They had become the hunters, the war room buried beneath. Geneva buzzed with quiet intensity as Yunji studied the holographic display showing Valkyrian fleet movements across the solar system. 6 months ago, she had been negotiating trade agreements between nations. Now she was orchestrating the largest military deception in human history. Their main fleet is positioning exactly as we predicted, she said, pointing to the red dots. Representing over 200 Valkyrian warships, they're massing for what they believe will be the final assault on Earth. General Morrison, the grizzled American commander who had initially doubted putting a former diplomat in charge of military strategy, now watched her with complete respect. How can you be so certain they'll take the bait? Yunji smiled, the same expression she had worn during countless diplomatic negotiations. Because I understand something about the Valkyrians that they don't understand about themselves. They're not just arrogant, they're predictable. They've used the same conquest strategy for 3 centuries. They gather overwhelming force, demonstrate their power, and crush any resistance. She manipulated the holographic display, showing the fake distress signals that human forces had been broadcasting for the past week. They think our orbital defenses are failing. They believe our resistance is collapsing. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see. The deception was masterful. Human forces had staged fake defeats, broadcast false casualty reports, and even allowed some Valkyrian victories to sell the illusion. 2 alien sensors. Earth appeared to be on the verge of total collapse, defended by only a handful of desperate ships. Phase 1 commences in 30 minutes, Yunji announced. All stealth fleets, prepare for activation. Hidden throughout the solar system, cloaked beyond the asteroid belt, lurked the greatest secret of the war. Humanity's reverse engineering efforts had not just copied alien technology, they had improved upon it. Human cloaking systems enhanced. With adaptive algorithms, empowered by hybrid energy cells, were now superior to anything the Valkyrians possessed. Commander. Wu Jin floated in the zero gravity of his command ship's bridge, watching the Valkyrian fleet approach Earth through his tactical display. The former naval officer had been chosen to lead humanity's first Interstellar Strike Force 50 ships crewed by the best pilots, engineers, and tacticians from every nation on Earth. All units maintain radio silence, he whispered into his communication device. Remember, we get one chance at this. Make it count. His ship, the Retribution, was a hybrid marvel of human engineering and alien technology. Its hull was forged from materials that didn't exist 6 months ago. Its weapon systems combined human innovation with alien power sources. Its crew was composed of people who had learned to think like their enemy while maintaining their human unpredictability. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the Valkyrian main fleet is moving into position. They are preparing for planetary bombardment. Wu Jin felt a cold anger in his chest. These aliens had come to his world, destroyed his cities, killed his people, and expected humanity to simply surrender. They had underestimated the wrong species. All units, he said into his communicator, this is for everyone we've lost. This is for everyone we're going to save. Attack pattern Delta, execute. The ambush began with devastating precision. From 16 different vectors, human ships dropped their cloaking and opened fire on the Valkyrian fleet. The aliens focused. On their approach to Earth, were caught completely off guard. Impossible, Commander Zethkar shouted from his backup flagship as explosions erupted throughout his formation. Our sensors showed nothing. Where did they come from? His tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures from all directions. They're using our own cloaking technology, but it's been modified. Enhanced. We can't track them. The battle was unlike anything in Valkyrian military history. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, then vanished again before return fire could be targeted. Their movements were chaotic, unpredictable, and brutally effective. They're not following any recognizable attack. Pattern, Zethkar, SAI reported. It's unable to calculate defensive response. Override the AI, Zethkar commanded. Manual control. All ships scatter formation, and his orders were cut short as 3 human ships materialized directly above. His flagship, Their coordinated assault overwhelmed his shields in seconds, leaving his ship drifting powerless in space. Across the battlefield, Wujin coordinated the assault with ruthless efficiency. His years of naval experience, combined with months of studying alien tactics, made him a formidable opponent. But it was his human intuition that made him deadly. "Tiger Squadron, hit their communication array," he ordered. "Wolfpack, take out their support vessels." Dragon Group, focus on the heavy cruisers, the Valkorian fleet, designed to overwhelm. Primitive defenses found itself being systematically dismantled by an enemy that refused to fight fair. Human ships worked in perfect coordination, their crews thinking and reacting faster than alien AI could process. "Sir," Wujin's communication officer reported, "we're intercepting Valkorian transmissions. They're trying to retreat." Through the static of battle, alien voices filled the human ship's speakers, confidence and arrogance that had marked. Their initial invasion was gone, replaced by something the Valkorians had never experienced: fear. "These creatures are not what we thought," one alien commander transmitted. "They adapt, they learn, they never stop fighting. Request immediate evacuation," another voice called out. "We cannot maintain formation. The humans are everywhere." "Fall back to secondary positions," came a third transmission. "This is not the species we analyzed. This is something else entirely." But there was no falling back. Wujin's strike force had planned for every contingency. As Valkorian ships tried to flee, they found their escape routes blocked by more human vessels dropping out of cloak. "No survivors," Wujin said quietly. "They showed no mercy to our civilians. We showed none to them." The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, the Valkorian main fleet, 200 ships that had conquered 17 worlds, was nothing but debris floating in space. Of the human strike force, only 3 ships had been lost, their crews remembered as heroes who had given their lives to save their world. On Earth, Yunji watched the tactical display as the last Valkorian ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The alien fleet that was supposed to deliver the final blow to humanity had been completely destroyed. "Phase 2 is complete," she announced to the war room. "All Valkorian forces in the solar system have been eliminated." But the victory was more than tactical, it was psychological. Across space, the few surviving Valkorian ships received news of the disaster. Their invincible fleet had been annihilated by the species they had dismissed as primitives. "Ma'am," her intelligence officer reported, "we're detecting massive movement in Valkorian space. The remaining fleets are ... retreating." Yunji nodded, understanding the significance. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Valkorian Empire was in full retreat. The hunters had become the hunted. "Commander Wujin," she said into her communicator, "congratulations on a successful mission. How do you feel about taking the war to their home territory?" Wujin's voice came back strong and determined. "Ma'am, we've learned everything we need to know about their tactics, their technology, and their weaknesses. It's time to show them what happens when you threaten humanity." The war had reached its turning point. The species that had been dismissed as weak, divided, and primitive had proven to be adaptable, innovative, and utterly relentless. The Valkorians had awakened something they couldn't control, couldn't predict, and couldn't defeat. They had awakened humanity's true nature, and now there would be no mercy. The bridge of the human flagship Vengeance hummed with quiet efficiency as Admiral Seochin studied the star charts displaying the Valkorian Empire's remaining territories. 8 months ago, he had been a cargo ship captain hauling freight between Earth's colonies. Now, he commanded humanity's most advanced fleet, pursuing the remnants of an empire that had once controlled half the galaxy. "Sir," his navigation officer reported, "we've detected Valkorian ships fleeing the Kepler 442 system. 3 heavy cruisers and a dozen support vessels running at maximum speed." Seokjin's weathered face showed no emotion, but his crew could sense the cold determination that had made him legendary among human forces. "Time to intercept." 18 hours at current speed, sir." "Reduced to half speed," Seokjin commanded, causing surprised looks among his officers. "We're not in a hurry." Lieutenant Park, his tactical officer, looked confused. "Sir, they'll reach the jump point before we can stop them. Sioka Jin smiled grimly. That's exactly what I want them to think. See, Lieutenant, fear is our greatest weapon now. The longer we take to catch them, the more time they have to panic, to make mistakes, to spread word of what's coming. Throughout Valkorian space, the mere mention of human ships caused entire fleets to retreat. The species that had once dismissed humans as insects now called them the Relentless Ones, creatures that never stopped hunting, never showed mercy, and never gave up the chase. Send a message to the fleeing ships, Siokin ordered.
Oh.
Them we're coming. Tell them they can run, but they cannot hide. In the medical bay of the assault ship Retribution, Dr. Haiwan worked with steady hands to remove shrapnel from a wounded Marine's shoulder. 2 years ago, she had been a pediatric nurse in Busan, caring for sick children. War had transformed her into something she'd never imagined, a combat medic who could save lives under fire and extract information from captured enemies. There, she said softly, cleaning the wound with practiced efficiency. You'll be back in action within a week, Corporal. The young Marine smiled weakly. Thanks, Doc. You've patched me up 3 times now. And I'll patch you up 3 more times if necessary, Awan replied, her voice carrying the warmth that had made her beloved by every soldier under her care. That's what we do. We take care of each other. Commotion near the detention area caught her attention. 2 guards were escorting a captured Valkorian officer, his crystalline features showing signs of the psychological trauma that had become common among alien prisoners. Bring him to interrogation room 3, Haiwan instructed. I'll be there in 5 minutes. The Valkorian prisoner, former ship commander named Vextel, sat, shackled in the interrogation room, his once proud bearing reduced to trembling fear. Haiwan entered, carrying a medical kit and a cup of water. Drink, she said simply, placing the cup before him. You're dehydrated. Vextel stared at her in confusion. You're going to torture me for information. Haiwan sat across from him, her expression calm but firm. I'm going to ask you questions. Whether you answer them is up to you. But I'm not going to hurt you. That's not who we are. But your species. You're monsters. Killers. You destroyed our entire fleet at Kepler 442. We're soldiers, Haiwan corrected. We didn't start this war. You came to our world, killed our people, and expected us to surrender. We're simply showing you the consequences of that decision. Over the next hour, Haiwan learned more about Valkorian psychology than months of previous interrogations had revealed. The aliens' entire worldview was built on a rigid hierarchy of strength and weakness. They had never encountered a species that could transform from apparent weakness into overwhelming strength. Your people, Vextel whispered, they're not natural. No species adapts that quickly. No species learns that fast. We're exactly what you made us, Haiwan replied. You wanted to see our true nature. Congratulations, you succeeded. The prisoner's next words chilled her. The Council of Elders has issued the extinction protocol. If they cannot defeat you, they will destroy themselves and take as many human worlds as possible with them. Haiwan's medical training kept her expression calm, but inside she felt ice in her veins. How many worlds? 17? Every world they've conquered. They would rather see the galaxy burn than admit humans are superior. Within hours, Haiwan's intelligence reached Admiral Siokin and the human high command. The final phase of the war was beginning, and it would determine not just humanity's survival, but the fate of every species the Valkorians had enslaved. Captain Kungmin stood on the observation deck of the assault carrier Liberator, watching the massive space station that served as the Valkorian Empire's last stronghold. The structure was enormous, the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons and protected by the most advanced shields in the galaxy. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the station. They're preparing to activate some kind of doomsday weapon. Kungmin had been a special forces operator before the war, trained to handle impossible missions. But this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. The station contained not just the surviving Valkorian leadership, but the control systems. For weapons aimed at 17 inhabited worlds, all units, this is Wolf Leader. he announced to the assault fleet. "We have one chance to stop them. If we fail, billions of innocent lives will be lost." The assault began with a coordinated strike from humanity's most advanced ships, but the Valkorians had learned from their defeats. Their defenses were stronger, their tactics more desperate, their willingness to sacrifice everything absolute. "They're not trying to win," Kyungmin realized as he watched the enemy's response patterns. "They're trying to buy time to activate their weapon, sir." "We're receiving a transmission from the station," his communications officer reported. The main screen filled with the image of Commander Zethkar, his once proud features now haggard with desperation and madness. Behind him, other Valkorian leaders worked frantically at control panels. "Humans," Zethkar's voice cracked with emotion, "you have shown us what you truly are. You are not a species, you are a plague, a cancer that consumes everything it touches." "You're wrong," Kyungmin replied, his voice steady despite the chaos of battle around him. "We're exactly what you made us. We were peaceful until you forced us to become warriors. We were isolated until you forced us to become conquerors." "It doesn't matter," Zethkar snarled. "In 10 minutes, our doomsday weapon will activate. 17 worlds will burn. Your precious humanity will learn the price of challenging the Valkorian Empire." But Kyungmin smiled, the same confident expression he had worn during countless impossible missions. "You're still making the same mistake you made 8 months ago. You're still underestimating us." As if on cue, explosions erupted throughout the Valkorian station. The aliens' frantic work at their control panels suddenly stopped as their systems began shutting down one by one. "Impossible," Zethkar whispered, staring at his failing equipment. "Our security systems are impenetrable." "Dr. Haiwan sends her regards," Kyungmin said. "That prisoner you thought was broken. He gave us everything we needed to know about your systems. We've been inside your network for the past 6 hours." The truth was devastating. While the Valkyrians had been preparing their final desperate gambit, human infiltration specialists had been systematically dismantling their weapon systems from the inside. Every failsafe, every backup system, every last resort had been quietly neutralized. "This is Commander Zethkar to all Valkorian forces." The alien leader's voice broke as he spoke into his communicator. I surrender. The Valkorian Empire surrenders unconditionally to the human forces." Words echoed across space, reaching every surviving Valkorian ship, every conquered world, every alien species that had witnessed the war. The Empire that had dominated the galaxy for 3 centuries was finished, brought down by the species they had dismissed as primitive insects. Sir Kyungmin's communications officer reported, "We're receiving surrender transmissions from Valkorian forces throughout the galaxy. They're laying down their weapons." Kyungmin nodded, feeling the weight of victory and the responsibility that came with it. Humanity had won, but the real challenge was just beginning. They were now the dominant force in the galaxy, and the choices they made would determine the fate of countless worlds. "Send a message to all human forces," he ordered. "The war is over. We are no longer the hunted. We are no longer the prey." He paused, looking out at the stars that now belonged to humanity. "We are the ones who survived when they thought we were weak. We are the ones who adapted when they thought we were primitive. We are the ones who won when they thought victory was impossible." The Valkorian Empire was finished. The age of humanity had begun. The ancient capital city of Valkyr Prime stretched across the horizon like a monument to a fallen empire. Once its crystalline spires had reached toward the stars, symbols of Valkorian dominance over 17 worlds. Now those same towers lay shattered, their fragments scattered across streets where alien civilians huddled in the ruins of their civilization. Supreme. Commander Sangwoo stood on the steps of the Valkorian High Council building,
watching his troops secure the city with disciplined efficiency.
9 months ago, he had been a colonel in the South Korean military, respected but unremarkable. The war had transformed him into something greater. The leader of humanity's greatest victory and the architect of a new galactic order. "Sir," his aide reported, "the last pockets of resistance have surrendered. The capital is secure." Sangwoo nodded, his expression calm despite the magnitude of the moment. Behind him, The flags of Earth's United Nations flew alongside the new banner of the Human Alliance's symbol that now represented the most powerful force in the galaxy. Us. Any word from the outer colonies? He asked. Yes, sir. All 17 worlds, formerly under Valkorian control, have been liberated. Local populations are celebrating. The Zenthari have declared their eternal gratitude, and the Koroth are requesting formal alliance agreements. The irony wasn't lost on Sangwoo. The same species that the Valkorians had enslaved through superior technology and ruthless conquest were now looking to humanity for protection and leadership. The galaxy had learned a harsh lesson about the dangers of underestimating others. Bring me Commander Zethkar, Sangwoo ordered. It's time to end this. In the depths of the ruined council building, Commander Zethkar sat in a holding cell that had once been a luxurious meeting room. The alien leader who had begun this war with such confidence now appeared broken, his crystalline features dulled by defeat and despair. His once pristine uniform was torn and stained, his proud bearing reduced to the slouch of a defeated tyrant. The door opened and Sangwoo entered alone, carrying no weapons, showing no fear. The human commander pulled up a chair and sat facing the alien who had brought destruction to Earth. Commander, Sangwoo said quietly, "We need to talk." Zethkar looked up, his eyes hollow with the weight of his failure. "You've come to gloat, haven't you? To mock the mighty Valkorian Empire that fell to primitive insects?" "No," Sangwoo replied, his voice carrying neither anger nor satisfaction. "I've come to understand. Help me understand why you did this, why you attacked a species that had never threatened you." The alien leader laughed bitterly. "You want to? Understand? Look at the records. Look at your own transmissions. Your species was weak, divided, fighting each other over scraps while your planet died around you. Our AI calculated a 99.7% probability of easy conquest. But we weren't weak," Sangwoo observed. "We were restrained. There's a difference." "Didn't know," Zethkar whispered, his voice breaking. "We couldn't have known what you truly were. Your broadcasts showed only your conflicts, your divisions, your ... your emotions. We thought these were weaknesses." Sangwoo leaned forward, his expression serious but not unkind. "You saw our compassion as weakness, our diversity as division, our emotions as flaws. You never understood that these make us stronger." "How?" Zethkar demanded, his confusion genuine. "How can weakness become strength? How can division create unity? How can emotions overcome logic?" "Because," Sangwoo explained patiently, "our compassion drives us to protect those who can't protect themselves. Our diversity gives us multiple perspectives on every problem. Our emotions give us the will to fight for something greater than ourselves." He gestured toward the window, where human soldiers were distributing food and medical supplies to Valkorian civilians. "Look at them. You could have slaughtered your people as you slaughtered ours. Instead, we're feeding them, healing them, protecting them. That's not weakness, that's strength." Zethkar stared at the scene, his worldview crumbling before his eyes. "I don't understand your species. You fight like demons when threatened, but show mercy to your enemies when victorious. You're not natural, or exactly what we need to be," Sangwoo replied. "We adapt, we survive, we overcome." The alien leader's next words came out as a desperate plea. "What happens now? To my people? To the Empire?" "That depends," Sangwoo said, standing up. "Are you ready to learn? Are you ready to understand that strength isn't about domination, but about protection? The true power comes from building others up, not tearing them down?" Zethkar struggled with concepts that challenged everything he had believed for. "Centuries? I don't know if my people can change. We've been conquerors for so long." "Then you'll learn," Sangwoo said firmly, "because the alternative is extinction. Not because we'll destroy you, but because the galaxy won't tolerate another Valkorian empire. The species you enslaved are free now. The civilizations you terrorized are armed now. The balance of power has shifted permanently." Later that day, Sangwoo stood before the assembled leaders of 17 liberated worlds. their faces reflecting a mixture of gratitude, hope, and uncertainty. Representatives from the Xanthari, the Koroth, the Hectara, and dozen other species had gathered to witness the birth of a new galactic order. Friend Sangwoo began, his voice carrying across the vast assembly hall. We stand at a crossroads. For 3 centuries, this galaxy has been ruled by fear, by the belief that might makes right. Today, we choose a different path. The crowd listened intently as the human commander outlined humanity's vision for the future. Trade agreements instead of tribute demands. Mutual defense pacts instead of conquest. Scientific cooperation instead of technological suppression. We offer you partnership, not domination, Sangwoo continued. We offer you protection, not exploitation. We offer you a chance to grow, to thrive, to reach your full potential without fear. But it was his final words that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. As communication arrays broadcast his message to every inhabited world, Sangwoo delivered humanity's promise and warning to the universe. To all civilizations listening, he said, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's journey from victims to victors, we want you to understand something about our species. We chose peace until you forced war upon us. We preferred diplomacy until you made violence necessary. We showed restraint until you mistook it for weakness. The assembly hall fell silent, every being hanging on his words. Remember this lesson, Sangwoo continued. Never mistake human kindness for weakness, for when we choose to fight, we fight to win. We are not the aggressive species that some would make us appear to be. We are the protective species that will defend what matters to us with everything we have. He paused, looking out at the representatives of civilizations that had learned to fear and respect humanity in equal measure. We are not your conquerors, he concluded. We are your guardians. But cross us. Threaten those under our protection. Mistake our mercy for weakness, and you will discover what the Valkorians learned too late, that humanity is not weak. We are the apex predators who simply prefer peace. The broadcast ended, but its message spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On distant worlds, potential aggressors reconsidered their plans. In hidden corners of space, would-be conquerors abandoned their schemes. The galaxy had learned that there was a new dominant species, one that ruled not through fear, but through strength tempered with wisdom, as the sun set over the ruins of Valkyr Prime. Sangwoo stood alone on the balcony of the former High Council building. The stars above held new meaning now, as distant points of light, but as destinations for humanity's expanding influence. The weak species that had once broadcast their divisions and conflicts to the galaxy was gone. In its place stood something new, something forged in the fires of invasion and tempered by the responsibility of victory. Humanity had finally taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a new age of peace. The galaxy would never be the same.